Yeah, I would say today I personally would not look so much after certifications, especially in these roles. I mean, I have several certifications, being it about being an agile leader or being it about even testing methodology and so on. You can have that, and it helps also to prove that you have an understanding. And sometimes people just think they need to go for it because of this is how you are successful, right? This is not true. And you need to be really interested in it. And there's also clear downside, especially if you're an engineer. It means you will have less time to do coding. You will have less hassle with people, topics. You have to be a mediator and so on. And you need to be up for it, right? You have to bring the empathy and so on. I think even more than before, this willingness to learn. And one thing I believe very much in this dawn of AI, that is, I believe that going forward, people in regardless which job or role who are able to leverage the power of AI will outperform people in the same role who are not able to, right?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe It Up, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of tech. I'm your host, Dan Tudorache, and I bring over 20 years of experience in the software development industry, wearing multiple hats as a solution architect, leadership coach, trainer, and now as a psychologist too. So now you might be wondering, what's the vibe all about? Well, the vibe, it's not just a podcast, it's a community, and the community have people in it. So the Vibe It Up, it's about the people, the leaders, the architects, everything, everyone that builds something and creates something from their own mind, and with vision and creativity. So I have with me today Jan Hegewald, right? Jan?
Close, Jan Hegewald.
Close.
Was close.
Okay. Hello, Jan. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Could you correct me, please, on your name?
Jan Hegewald. It's a very tricky one. Don't worry too much. Jan is okay.
Thank you. It's okay. I'm happy to have you here, Jan, with me, and I will ask you in the first place to tell me what's your current role and responsibilities, and what's the definition of the role.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm working on SumUp. Thanks a lot for having me, first of all. Um, I'm working at SumUp. SumUp is a payment company. You might know us from our card readers. I even have some like here. Um, we make it possible for merchants to accept card payments so that you don't have to come with cash. But actually, this is not what I'm doing. I'm responsible as the VP engineering in our point of sale tribe for point of sale solutions. So we also produce this beautiful device, and you can also run it on like a tablet or a smartphone that you have yourself. And with that, we help small merchants, for example, cafes or small retail stores around the world, to grow their business with this point of sale system on their counter. So they can have a product catalog, they can take orders, check out with discounts, they are being fiscalized, they can manage their inventory, gain insights into their business, how it's running through reports, and manage their till and so on. And I'm looking after, together with my with two peers, after the engineering part of the organization. So the whole organization is around 100 people. And yeah, we're making sure that we're kind of providing engineering excellence and operational excellence for the products that we're building.
Awesome, awesome, nice introduction of SumUp, and it seems you have very interesting products there. Um, do you enjoy building those products?
Yes, and for me, it's a lot of fun, but it's also very nice because we really help merchants to do what they do every day to earn their living, right? So, I mean, it also comes with a lot of responsibility. If our product would be down, merchants worldwide would struggle earning their living. But we are not done. And so this is really fascinating. And for me, it's also the first time in the industry that I have a physical hardware product attached. So far, I was always only concerned with mainly software aspects of it, but now we also have some hardware aspect to it. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, what's your role label right now?
It's VP engineering.
VP of engineering. And what's the role consist in? What's your day-to-day responsibilities, tasks, and
Yeah. As I try to say, so we have like 3 cross-functional collaboration roles. There's the design part. Then we have product managers, of course, and the third aspect is the engineers. And I'm looking after engineers. So I'm leading, for example, engineering managers who in turn lead their teams. I need to make sure that we have proper staffing across the tribe. I need to make sure that we collaborate very closely with product, because tech for the sake of tech is worth nothing, right? You need to build something that solves a customer problem. So this is of utmost importance. What we also did recently is we merged these organizations are called Tribe in SumUp. It's following the Spotify concept. And we merged 2 together. So we also had to shape kind of a new engineering culture. We had to build new domain boundaries. And also help with setting up unified processes. Often there's resolutions that we need to find for problems that arise, like I'm lacking some, I don't know, let's say Android engineering capacity, but what we're working on is high on the priorities list. So how can we solve that? And of course, I'm also responsible for making sure that what I mentioned earlier on, engineering excellence standards are built in or met in everything that we build and how we build stuff. And also operational excellence standards are met when we run these services, because it's like real DevOps. So we also run the services ourselves that we build. And so there's a lot about, let's say, incident management, maintaining also a legacy product that we also run, and so on. So there's a lot of challenges. We're also currently helping the people that we merged, half of them, to learn Kotlin, because we adopted Kotlin as the main language for backend development. And yeah, tons of stuff like that. Of course, helping the engineering managers grow professionally,
yes.
and so on.
Yeah, a lot of technical solutions to find and to overcome on for the issues. And it seems like this role has a lot of responsibilities in a lot of area of the company and the product, which is the business area, development area, and product design and management area. So what skills should one that look up for this role should have in terms of technical and non-technical?
Mhm. I would say in the sense of technical skills, it's quite important to understand architectures on a macro level, especially in regards to scalability. Because as I said, we have SumUp has 4 million merchants worldwide that use our products. Not all of them use a point of sale system, but a lot of them use also parts of it, for example, the product catalog. And so you need to scale the product catalog so that every single merchant can operate that efficiently and flawlessly. And so these kinds of requirements on that scale, like macro level architecture, really, what are good technologies for being scalable? How can you also define and shape these services so they also can be used across the company? There's also some platform aspects to it, because the same catalog that is used on the point of sale to pick from the stuff that you are selling, you can also use in another SumUp product, which is an online store. So if you're a merchant, you have created this online store, invested the time, then you can, with a click of a few buttons at no additional costs, also get an online store where you sell the same online. And this poses additional requirements to such a thing like the catalog. And you need to consider this both on a technical level, but then, and here we come more to the soft skills part of your question. I think one of the most important things that I'm doing is helping with collaboration, because the teams on our tribe need to collaborate closely together. If we introduce something new, like let's say discounts as a recent example, this goes from like the checkout where people really start adding the discount, but it then goes through our sales platform. It needs to go to the reporting and so on. So you have to implement it through the whole platform, and that you need to facilitate, because collaboration is always something that causes tension, especially because typically we have more desire to do stuff and ideas than capacity, and so therefore this is something that is important. So like this, enabling people to collaborate, having also the strategic overview of all the things that are happening in parallel or that stakeholders also need. And lastly, of course, also the pure people aspect, like helping my engineering managers to lead their teams effectively and grow professionally themselves, are more on the soft skills side. So also communication, collaboration, empathy for sure. That's super critical, because in the end, right, we're always in the situation of solving tricky challenges, but the real challenges are often in just organizing it on the human side of things, right?
Yes, indeed. There are multiple skills because the role involves so many areas and also people and different teams and a lot of context. So you need technical, business, and people skills in this regard, and everything on his side of the I don't know, role, responsibilities, and so on. So if we go back to your beginning in this domain in tech, so you studied in university. What did you study?
I studied indeed computer sciences in Berlin and Potsdam. Yeah, I was kind of motivated because my dad was always doing something, and at that time it was not called tech, it was information processing or something. And I was always bugging him to tell me or to teach me how to code and to program. And he didn't do, but what he did is he brought me some book from the library of where he was working, the German railway company, and it was a book about QBasic. And so I taught myself my first attempts to write code. And also my sister, she's a bit older than me. She became a developer when she started her work life. And so, I then kind of naturally choose to study computer sciences here in Berlin and Potsdam. And at that time, I was lucky because I also started in a company, Capgemini. It's a French big consultancy doing custom software development, and I started there as a working student. So while studying, I could also already learn stuff that is really relevant for me later at work, and also I was much more able to identify which content of the studies was relevant and what was more like theoretical. That was really nice. And later on, I also, indeed, when I was done with my studies, started with them or continued with them to work and develop custom software for diverse clients.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. And if you look back in time, what's the what have you been done differently, if there is something that you have been done differently?
I don't know. I wouldn't even. I must say I'm relatively happy with where I am and what I do. I don't think I would have changed something. I mean, I can explain a little bit more. For example, so I was with Capgemini at the beginning of my career. So this was like seeing all the parts of the software development lifecycle, from requirements analysis to design, implementation, rollout, training at the customers, and so on. And I saw, most importantly, all the different industries. Like in one project, you work with, I don't know, in the media industry. In the next project, you work in transportation, and the same is with tech stacks, right? One project was in, I don't know, C#, the next one was in Java or something. And I learned a lot. I learned just because I saw so many different things. And later on, also my first job where I had a responsibility for a team was also in a consultancy. It's a smaller one, Campana in short. It's a German-based European consultancy. And there I was able to lead my first team. And it was still also a team of engineers, but we were introducing mostly solutions around project, program, and portfolio management. And I learned a lot there as well. It was really quite a challenge also, because I was responsible at the same time for making sure that all my team members had a job, like were kind of paid for by clients. I had to develop our service offering further. And lastly, I also had to deliver stuff with clients that was billable as well. And it was quite a bit of stuff. And in the end, it was also, I also at some point had to leave the consulting business when I got my first kid. Then it does not go so well with that together, right? I still remember when I went to brought my first kid to Kita and then had to hurry to catch a plane or a train to go somewhere. So that does not go well with each other. But then I also shifted and went into e-commerce. But without these experiences in consulting, I would not be who I am today. So I would not change it, because it was perfectly the right time for me to really get the broader understanding of what this industry is about, what options are there, what companies are there as possible employers. And I also knew, for example, which of the companies I was sure I do not want to work at, because they are rather super bureaucratic and stuff like that, right? So in hindsight, I would say all went very well, and I'm very happy with how that went there.
I see, I see. Okay, okay. So that point, you feel like it was a important pivotal moment or decision when you started the career on that path?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I learned a lot of tools, approaches, and as I said, I think I would not be who I am today if I had not done that. Um, so no, that was really good. Yeah.
What helped you in terms of, I don't know, skills, environment, people to made it in that role? Because as you said, it was a little challenging for you, and I wonder what helped you. Uh,
Yeah. I think there was mainly two things. I would say one is the willingness to learn constantly, adapt to new stuff. Learn in the context of new challenges. And the other one, I would say, um, so besides the learning, I think being very structured about how you organize things in parallel, how you not lose out of sight, for example, the strategic aspect, like I described. I needed to also develop the further the service offering of my team, so that we could pitch it to clients and so on. And you can easily fall short on that if you focus too much on operational things and so on. So I think that was also quite crucial to learn. And I mean, I was also super happy because I was always surrounded, both in Capgemini as well as in Campana and Shot, by very excellent people from which I could learn a lot. There were very diligent models on how we delivered software projects, or how we did consulting and so on. And I really learned a lot on a very high level of excellence at that time. That was really good. And I still benefit from that hugely.
okay, okay. So in there were a lot of lessons learned, I guess, along the way. But what do you think is it was the most important or impactful one for your career development?
Lessons learned, you mean? Um, mm, I think, I mean, maybe one pivotal point in my career was really when I left Capgemini, because I had been with them for 9 years at that point in time, and I was really struggling making this decision. Right, it was my first job. I've been with them for 9 years, and then I was given this offer by the Campana and Shot to lead a team and so on, and I was really struggling. Although there were also some things that I were unhappy about in Capgemini, but I was really struggling taking this decision, unless at some point I realized, hey, but it's a great opportunity. you are not sure whether this will be good and so on, and it could also be a mistake. But it's a good opportunity. You need to grab it now, and if it fails, and if you fail in that, it doesn't matter too much, because I mean, we're in a very privileged situation in our industry, right? That even if we do not succeed in an environment, we can relatively easily find a new job. And that was my final insight that I needed in order to say, yes, I'm up for this new challenge. And that is good. And then I did it. And the other thing that I learned, and that was essentially on the other side of that change, I was still also doubting myself whether I can help a team that does project, program, portfolio management, methodology consulting, because I learned a lot about project management methodology in Capgemini. We had a very advanced one. It was very excellent, but it was about delivering software projects. And in Campana and Shot, we also helped clients, I don't know, AIDA Cruises, the ones with the big cruise ships, to build innovation management processes. Or we even helped with the infamous Berlin airport. And I was wondering, is that sufficient what I know? Am I really able to do that? But what I learned when I started the job, and I was really insecure whether this would work out, but what I learned immediately when I started is with what I felt the little I knew at that time. Of course, I learned tons of stuff then in Campana and Shot, but already with what I thought was little I knew, most of the clients were even way, way, way below that, right? So I could easily add value and help them improve. And so I learned, sometimes you have to dare, and you don't need to be super perfect in something, but a lot of stuff and experiences that you bring are also already quite valuable. And that was really a lesson that I had to learn. And I learned this, but I was also very happy when I learned that, I must admit.
Yeah. What helped you? I mean, until now, for this role, did you had pursued some extra certifications for yourself to know more about the processes, management, industry, and so on?
Yeah, I do, and I did. I mean, that's also tying back to what I said about the willingness to learn. Although I think you also need to be mindful. Staying with this example of project management, there is this also very famous PMBOK, project management body of knowledge. Is a thousands pages book that you need to learn, and also learn by the letter in case you want to get certified on this. And for example, I think that's not worth the time, because it's really over formalistic and you're spending really huge amounts of time in just stupidly learning this. So I think you also need to find the balance, what to pick. And I mean, this becomes even more true today, right? We always in engineering speak about T-shaped engineers. So we expect engineers to be broad in what they know on a only a certain level of detail, and then we need them to go deep in a specific field. And I think this broad knowledge is super important, and I would really go deep only if it's really required. Because in our world that became so complex, it is, I think, more important to have an understanding of how things work together and what approaches are also available, and then on demand get into the details of that, than being super deep and specific in something. But I guess this is maybe also more true for me in a leadership position. If you are kind of a subject matter expert, I guess that's different for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And there is the always in I don't know, continuous discussion regarding generalists versus specialists in a certain domain. So either you go and cover broad area of subjects and a just a tiny about everything, maybe, but it helps you to take, I don't know, quicker decisions, not necessarily better decisions, but quicker, which in an agile world could help you. uh, if you go more in the specialist part and you take more people which are specialized in something, framework, technology, domain or business, or something like that, it could help you get more traction on that part. So always there is this what do we hire, right, for our companies, for our teams, generalist versus specialist. So what do you say on that?
I mean, that depends on the role, right? I think for engineers, for example, we of course look for specific hard skills, but on the other hand, we also hire more also for potential than for specific experience, because in these very fast changing markets and technology landscapes, it's more important to also have this like kind of broader understanding of context to be able to also learn, identify, and then later on learn new technologies, for example. Um, and that is more and more true, right? Our world becomes so complex and interconnected that just being a specialist works in certain fields. But I think you need to be really good there. And then you need to also be sure that this job will not be replaced by something, maybe AI or something in the shorthand. So I would always say that it's important to be good at something for sure, but nevertheless to also have a very broad understanding to be able to take in the context that you are in and so on.
Yeah, yeah. And from your point of view, and we are referring now first to your role or role in a high leadership role, so CTO, vice president of VP of I don't know, tech direction or something like that, technical director. What certifications or do you think the companies look after when they hire someone on this on this role, if you are aware of?
Yeah, I would say today I personally would not look so much after certifications, especially in these roles. I mean, I have several certifications, being it about being an agile leader or being it about even testing methodology and so on. You can have that, and it helps also to prove that you have an understanding. But I would say that what matters most is really experience. And I think these very formal training programs, they were more relevant, I would say, let's say 10 years ago than they are today, because today for me it's really much more important what experience do you bring. If we have a job candidate, for example, also sometimes people put something like, hey, you need to have X years of experience in the field of blah, and then we consider you. I think that makes no sense, because taking the example of a software engineer, if they have worked for 9 years in a company that, I don't know, is really developing software in a way that is kind of from the 90s or something, non-agile, not maybe with separation of operations and development and so on, that is definitely much, much, much less worth than if you have someone who has been working for a year or let's say two in some of the more modern tech companies, for example, because just the way how you develop products, how you have a mindset for customer centricity, how you have a mindset for operational excellence and so on is very different. And also, yeah, I would say still the ability and willingness to learn is also much more important. And in that regard, I think I would always value, and the same goes for leadership, right? Because it's the same questions. So there you have more questions like, how do we prioritize right? How do we structure our teams? How do we facilitate collaboration? How do we ensure happiness of the teams and so on? And here I would again say it really depends on which contexts, company-wise, have you been working in, what have you seen, what do you know, have you seen in practice really, and not just theoretically read about in a book. For like, we have all these dogmatic models that we are urged to follow and everything will be fine. It's a little bit like Scrum by the book or something, right? And I think this does not happen. It's the same, like also to your question, I think I know I have even I think I have a Scrum Master. I have some certification. I think it's a Scrum Master certification. Maybe it's also product owner. I don't know, but I don't care, right? It's been a while, to be fair, and it helps, of course, having gone through this, having understood the theory behind and how it goes theoretically. But doing, for example, Scrum by the book does not help a bit if your challenges are in some specific regards that this will not help with. And you always have to look at how you adapt your environment, how you can experiment and iterate there. And I think having a track record of having done something like that in organizations in real life is for me more valuable than some formal certifications that are for sure also valid, and you should strive for them. But I would not look for them in the first place.
And what advice would you give someone who is, I don't know, mid-year or senior developer who wants to go into management positions, and maybe they have some experience but they don't have some practical experience in the role, but they want that role, so they go and take the certification, go and find the certification, and after that they want to hire on a management role, but people would say like, okay, you don't have 2 years experience or 4 years experience on the same role, so how would they tackle this?
Yeah, I mean, there's always two scenarios in that specific case, I would say. The one is you do this in your current company, and I think then this is easier, because if, for example, I was the manager of that person, first of all, I would try to make sure, is this really what you want? Because sometimes, and that's also something we need to overcome, and I think we have partially. In many companies, we have like an equal management development path and a individual contributor development path, and I think both is super important, because not for everyone is the leadership track the right track. And sometimes people just think they need to go for it because of this is how you are successful, right? This is not true. And you need to be really interested in it. And there's also clear downside, especially if you're an engineer. It means you will have less time to do coding. You will have less hassle with people topics. You have to be a mediator and so on. And you need to be up for it, right? You have to bring the empathy and so on. So first of all, I would make sure that this is really what they want and what will make them happy as well. And then secondly, of course, if this is totally a new field for you, it makes sense to also go for a formal training and maybe with a certification. That's cool. And then I would recommend, you need very good support from your lead to help you with that. That is something that we often don't do, right? Everything that we do in individual contributor teams, like delivering software, we always do as a team. And we really know that's the best way to do it. On the leadership side, I know a lot of people who have been promoted to a leadership position, and out of a sudden they are left alone because now you're a lead, now you know how to manage, so good luck. And I think it's also important to create an environment where you can have an exchange with your peers. Something that I do, for example, here also in SumUp, where we regularly talk about various leadership topics, also with leads from other organizations, like internal organizations. And you need to have a lead who can really help you with the challenges. And then I would also recommend looking for a mentor or something, someone who can also give you advice if you have questions, which you will for sure have. And then, as I said, it's easier if you do this internal switch. If you do this at the same time as changing a company, then it becomes more challenging because people might easier discard you for that role if you don't have any experience. I think the other trick is really to be convincing, ideally having maybe these trainings already and being able to show them on the CV, and then having a good conversation with the people who are looking to hire this role, in order to maybe convince them, but also to learn whether you would get the support that you will need from them, and then it could work, but it's more tricky for sure.
Yes, awesome answer, and I like your perspective on this. So on this part, and with the coming of AI and all the technologies, new technologies, what qualities and maybe, I don't know, skills do you think the technical people, software developers should have in the future, starting from now?
Mm-hmm. I think even more than before, this willingness to learn. And one thing I believe very much in this dawn of AI, that is, I believe that going forward, people in regardless which job or role who are able to leverage the power of AI will outperform people in the same role who are not able to, right? I mean, we talk about a lot that AI can write code and so on. I mean, that's not the case, right? It can help writing code and probably also in a good quality and so on. But what always remains critical is just understanding the business problem correctly, identifying requirements, how it should really work. And that's hard. And this, again, coming back to the real human interactions, because you need to understand what's challenges and problems that people try to solve. And they are typically also not always able to verbalize that easily so that it can be automated, because for that it already needs to be put down properly. So I don't think that the developer role will go away very soon. But I'm fully convinced that someone who is able to leverage things like GitHub Copilot or whatever for their work to be faster and more high quality and so on will be in a good shape. And I think that any longer term predictions are super hard to make. I wouldn't know, but I mean, also actually AI is a field where I think here it could make sense to also go deep, right? If you want to work yourself on AI, then you for sure need to get deep, and it could be an opportunity. But it's one of the few occasions that come to my mind where it really, I think, makes sense to also go deep if you want to work on AI. If you don't work on AI, you certainly have to learn to work with AI.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder about the human interaction, because you also said that people should have those skills, and the emotional intelligence skills. How do you think those will impact the future of coding, technical development, and so on?
I think, as I said before, but even with more evidence, this will become even more important, right? Because when we can automate like the more tedious low-level tech tasks a little bit, this means we get the capacity to work more on really understanding like what are the customer problems, how can we solve that potentially. And in this, as I also said, ever increasing world, there will be more and more dependencies to keep in mind when we change whatever systems. And so I think for doing all that successfully, you need to be good in communicating with others, in collaborating with others. And we might see a world where the leveraged usage of AI might free up engineers a little bit from the super nitty-gritty work and allow them to focus more on really thinking through what are the things that we need to make happen, how can we make them happen, how do they interact or depend on other stuff and so on. And therefore, these soft skills of collaboration, communication, empathy, and so on, I believe might become more relevant. But I can also be wrong, right? Because you can also put any conversation that you want to do through an AI and it can improve it for you. Maybe that's also a way. I don't know.
Yeah, you can ask advices from AI. How can I do this better? But at the at the end, you are the one that needs to deliver that. You are the one that needs to understand better the what your I don't know, peers have to say, and which is, I don't know, clients, other team members, other uh, uh, departments, maybe business department, marketing department, sales department, because they also want something from from you. And it's very important to grow the human skills, social skills too, in order to have this. And you mentioned about mentoring. Did you had some mentors at when you were younger, maybe not younger, but at the start of your career?
We can say it. It's all good. I'm fine. I have to accept it. Yes, several for sure. I have some that were kind of informal mentors, some that were formal. Um, It's my first job in Capgemini. I had my manager's manager. He was really great. Henrik was his name, to explain a lot of what was going on in the company and why and so on. It was really helpful to really get a very different perspective. And it was super good and helped me a lot, which I'm really thankful for. Later on, I had another mentor. She was an external sales trainer that I got to know already in Capgemini, but then also I brought her to Campana and Schott, and she supported there a lot. And she was super experienced. She was amongst the first in Europe to bring project management tools to the market and so on. And she helped me, for example, figure out what to do after consulting. Because when I at some point realized that it doesn't work well with having a family to do consulting, I really had to think. And she helped me a lot with that, so that I finally also then found and decided for e-commerce. And also in my previous job, when I was at Zalando, I had a very good mentor, Thibaut. He helped me navigate a lot, like challenges in internal collaboration as well, which is also important, especially if you have like bigger corporations. You need to also have some help how to navigate that and so on. And he did this tremendously well. So yeah, it's from my perspective ultra helpful to have someone to talk to about the challenges, someone who is neutral, yet experienced and wise. And this partially it came through a formal mentoring program. We had that in Zalando, but partially it's also just people found me, or I found people, or something. And I was always very happy and thankful for that. And yeah, I also do that from time to time myself. So I think it's always, even if you are, I mean, it normally distinguishes between mentor and mentee, but I also like to see it differently. If I'm the mentor, I always also learn, right? If you have someone who's from a different, even just department, right? You learn a lot about their challenges, their work reality and perception already. That also teaches me a lot. So I'm not such a big fan of that differentiation, but I'm definitely a big fan of mentorship.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm on the same page here, and for me, it helped me very much have one person that could help me in this in the direction that I want, and maybe push me from time to time to see better things for my own development than I could have seen with my experience at that time. Because if we are not necessarily at the beginning, but maybe in the middle as a media developer, even senior developer, but we weren't exposed as many to as many companies, processes, people as other people had. It's very important to ask for other opinions, change something, and maybe get mentorship services too, because it's there are a lot of people which are founding their own companies, um, tech people which are going into business, uh, building their own product maybe, which don't have the skills, don't have the knowledge, and it's very important also for them to take something like that. And I wonder, what advice would you give someone who is starting their own career, maybe at the beginning now, and in this domain in tech? What advice would you prioritize as a mentor for them?
hmm So if you're really starting in the industry and looking for a place, I would firstly recommend to go for real tech companies. Like, this is a good thing. That's what I meant, right? If you can work in such like environment where there's ancient development processes, mindset, and so on, then I think you don't learn that much. So going for real tech companies is good. Also companies, yeah. First, secondly, develop a customer mindset. As I said, the only thing that brings value is solutions for customer problems, not tech for the sake of tech. So that's super important. You need to be attached to the customer problem. Then develop a learning mindset. lifelong learning will stay for sure. I mean, it gets easier with AI and so on, but I'm sure it will not get less. And then also look into AI. And I mean, for anything, right? As a technology to master yourself, maybe if you want to really go into this, but not necessarily, but for sure as supporting tools. I mean, no matter what you do, no matter what role, you will be more effective with AI for sure. And what is often also forgotten, especially in the tech industry these days, along the hype of AI, is data, because data is all the fundamentals or the foundation of AI, right? If as a company you don't have your data in a tidy shape, it's hard for you to leverage AI on top of that. And data is the underlying foundation of everything in AI. So I think learning about data management and so on, data integration, stuff like that, is also something that I would recommend. And I think this is often forgotten these days, in the context of the hype around AI.
So, if we would be to or to make a top 3 or 5 best roles to seek after, from starting from here, or industries to work in, what do you think those would be?
That's a tough question. I mean, that's really a tough question. I would not dare to believe I can predict which jobs will shine in the future and which might diminish. Maybe on a higher level. So as I said, anything about data operations, leveraging for AI and so on, I think is a good thing. Certainly not a data analyst by itself, right? Because you can automate a lot of that, but also you would still need someone to interpret the data and so on. But I don't know. But to be able to really work with data is something that I would recommend. Then secondly, everything, it can be, I don't know how it will look like in the future, right? But it can be a programmer, developer, but really more with a focus to really understand what are the initiatives, what are the features that we want to deliver, how can we deliver them, how can I understand what is the need and how can I translate that and make that happen. Maybe through AI, and anything that helps also with facilitating collaboration between groups, being it development groups, being it business departments in a company, whatever, that will stay relevant for sure as well. And I think that's not really roles, but I think this is like qualities that you could strive for and that will, I'm pretty optimistic, be useful in the future as well.
Okay, okay, thanks. Yeah, and I'm on the same page that big data, data industry, data interpreting, data scientist roles, which can interpret data based on history and the facts and everything. It's very important nowadays, and not starting from now, but also in the past. A human interaction roles, like you said, facilitators, scrum masters, maybe, that had a need to do the facilitating in between the teams, trainers, maybe, to
Yeah,
uh,
that's,
guide
I think I
people.
disagree a little bit with the Scrum Masters. I think we see these roles disappear more and more. I think also I was always a big fan of Scrum Masters or Agile coaches, but I think if you think about it, it's really the job of the lead functions to do like their job, like change management, process improvements, and so on. But the training aspect is very important and interesting. I think that's really true. I also agree largely. It becomes much, much easier today to learn stuff, but I think this makes it also more overwhelming and also more challenging to really navigate these learning opportunities. And I think anything around this, like training with advanced methodologies, providing new training formats, education programs, anything like that will likely also be very good. That's a really cool point that I like a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and as I do post a lot on this, because I found a lot of programs which are free. Yesterday or the day before, I posted something about 5 leadership programs from top United States universities, which information is free. You can get information as much as you want, but transformation, it's not. So have transformation, you need someone to guide you, to be there with you, to know more than you do, to encourage you, and give you the substance of what you want to become, and make you accountable, responsible for for that. And which is what I mentioned earlier. Yeah, and there are a lot of industry now on rise, maybe, that needs to more attention from our perspective. Maybe medical innovation field, which has a lot of potential, and other fields like that. Okay. One quick question for you, and this is a funny one. If you were to have dinner with someone in the tech industry, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think it would be Sam Altman, because I would ask him for sure, A, what really happened at OpenAI. I think he won't tell me, but anyways, I give it a try. And secondly, I would be super interested in hearing from him what's the latest in research that they are working on, and to hear what's coming. I think that would be really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe I will write on his his LinkedIn page and ask
please
him
do.
directly.
Looking forward to the episode.
Yes, and he will also answer. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Jan. And finally, as we prepare to wrap this up, is there a particular piece of advice or insight you would like to leave with the audience from now, this episode?
um, Fine. I mean, I think we shared already a lot. I think the most important thing is stay eager to learn. Try to extend your horizon. It's now more important than ever. And at the same time, it's really important to also have and learn about the soft skills. And again, recommend the book that one of the mentors that we talked about, Thibaut, recommended me. I'm also super happy all the time, because it's the one most recommended book by me. It's called How to Have a Good Day, by Carolyn Webb. She's a former McKinsey consultant, and the subtitle is The Essential Toolkit for a Productive Day at Work and Beyond. And that's exactly it. It's about personal prioritization, productivity, relationships, influencing, resilience. And I think all these topics are more relevant also than ever. And it's an extremely good mix of scientific insights from behavioral economics, psychology, neuroscience, and practically applicable advice. So have a look at this. This is one book that really helps both in professional life as well as in personal life. So this is the book that I really like very much, I must say.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much. And if you want to provide some information where people could find you, it's okay.
Yeah, sure. On LinkedIn, I think maybe we can put it in the show notes, right? Um, you will find me as Jan Hegewald, and also on my website, jan-hegewald.de. You can also find some information and a link to my blog, where I write about agility and leadership, unfortunately only in German, but also this is today not a problem anymore, right? Because any AI will be able to translate anything in there for you. Yeah, we will provide the links in the show notes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Vibe It Up. I hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Jan. And before we go, I want to extend a big thank you to our guest for sharing his valuable experience and perspective. So, if you, our listeners, have been inspired or have burning questions after this episode, I encourage you to connect with us. You can find more about Vibe It Up on our LinkedIn page, on YouTube, and you can also contact me, contact Jan. maybe we can help you on something. So thank you very much, Jan. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure. Thank you.